Hi, I am Kevin Quigley with Tarot Off the Cuff. Nikki Moore describes herself as a kitchen witch who loves peppermint tea and puns. She lives in a small town in New Zealand with her husband, her dog, and a bunch of chickens. She describes life as a magical act.
What's up, everyone? Nikki here with Tarot Off the Cuff and the Spacious Tarot. I'm going to pick a card to inspire teaching. Okay, so I picked the Ten of Cups. Okay, so I think I'd like to talk a little bit about shadow work with the Ten of Cups. So you might be surprised that Ten of Cups and shadow work are the cards, that that's the association that I've made there. I think sometimes that there is this perception with the idea of shadow work that when it comes to that that territory, that often we're talking about stuff that is dark, right? It's called shadow work, so you would automatically think it's stuff that that is always to do with kind of negative aspects that we're hiding in some way. So, and I often am surprised. Well, I'm not surprised, but it amuses me a little bit when I see people online who are like, can you please recommend a tarot deck that is good for me to use with shadow work? And almost all the time, I just want to say, like, any tarot deck would be good to work with shadow work. You don't need something that's got vampires or some kind of dark gothic kind of aesthetic or something that seems particularly gritty in order to do that kind of work. You could probably use the Happy Tarot if you really wanted to, in order to do that particular investigation with yourself. I genuinely do believe that, because it's not really about the aesthetic of the tarot deck. It's really about your intention and your willingness to dive a little bit deeper into either your own or other people's motivations for why it is that that they perhaps continue to kind of behave in a particular way, or just to kind of understand the underlying dynamics of their own personality or the situation at hand, some of the unconscious dynamics. So yeah, I just think it is kind of a curious thing to me that people kind of seem to be under the impression that if you're going to be doing some kind of work on the subconscious, if you're going to be looking into those realms, then automatically it needs to come along with this kind of very occult, classically new agey occult aesthetic, that otherwise you're not doing it right or something. I mean, I appreciate it, because I think that there is this it's an aesthetic, like if you think Halloween or something really Halloween-y, it's got this kind of occult, graveyard, skeletons, like dark, witchy kind of aesthetic to it that lends itself to this idea of working with the taboo, working with the hidden, working with things that are more mysterious than the everyday mundane. However, I also think that a lot of the ways in which we, say, sabotage ourselves are quite mundane. So that, this is why I'm like, well, just use the tarot deck that you would use for any other normal everyday situation, especially if you're kind of have this tendency to read in a somewhat psychological way anyway, then I don't see any reason why you need to have a tarot deck that has a darker aesthetic. Because the reason that the Ten of Cups has inspired me to say that is because this card is so so often connected with this idea of like an ultimate state of fulfillment or happiness. And, you know, when I talk about kind of mundane ways in which our shadow or our unconscious like manifests, you know, oftentimes we you know, one may consciously be saying that they want to be happy, or they would like to experience this kind of happily ever after, or experience of ultimate emotional fulfillment, which the Ten of Cups promises. However, there can be unconscious desires and you know, patterns of behavior that really demonstrate that perhaps that feeling of happiness at some level isn't what you want. You know, so you kind of like accidentally or unconsciously manifesting situations in which you one can play out not being very happy about life. You know, this is beyond any kind of like privileges and situation or kind of experiences that people have which are fucking difficult, and so it's everyone's within their kind of right to struggle in those situations. I'm just talking about people who, or situations and emotional states which people say that they don't necessarily want to have. You know, they wish that they felt differently, they wish that they could have these more positive, fulfilling emotional experiences, and yet for whatever reason that they can't have them. So, you know, those are the times where it can be really interesting to perhaps dig a little bit deeper into why perhaps maybe someone might want to feel bad or desire not to be happy in some way. This is really tricky stuff to get into, okay? And so why do people feel like they need some kind of specialist occult themed or occult aesthetic tarot deck to help in that situation? The reasons and rationales for why somebody might be holding themselves back, or these kind of unconscious games that people are playing with them, you know, may not necessarily be anything to do with something that's really that gothic or really that kind of dark in some way. Like I say, it could be a very mundane explanation for why somebody might be like that. And I guess my kind of point is that you can get the answers to those questions with the Rider-Waite. You know, you can get the answers to those questions with multiple different kinds of tarot decks. So yeah, I just kind of find that a really curious thing to me. And also kind of like dovetailing on from this tarot decks that you might want to work with if you are doing shadow work or wanting to work with the unconscious. In terms of like if you're working for other people, there's definitely, you know, for some people, seeing a very dark themed tarot deck is going to be immediately a confrontational thing. I have had like pretty profound shadow work style readings from people from using the Crystal Unicorn Tarot. So, and I also think that from having decks that maybe present in a way that are quite kind of intriguing or quite fun or quite playful or whatever, but then come along and they pack a punch afterwards, that can be kind of cool, you know, like it kind of reels people in, doesn't necessarily put people off straight away or freak people out, and then before they know it, they're kind of in quite deep and they're able to, it's more accessible to them, like at least on a conscious level as well as maybe a subconscious level. Like, sure, you know, using darker tarot decks is going to, it could potentially help to shift something inside where you maybe see something that's a little bit triggering in a kind of darker image, and so maybe it allows you to bring that forth a little bit more quickly. But I would just say that with the right questions and with enough honesty, that it doesn't really need to be like that. You can use a happy deck. You know, you can get the Ten of Cups or an equally more positive card and get something really deep and meaningful out of it, and perhaps some kind of lesson that allows you to uncover and reconcile something that has been hidden within the shadows and bring it to light. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. I hope that that was useful. And if you've got anything to add to this conversation, this is totally off the cuff. So I feel like there's probably more that I could say about this, but I just thought that, yeah, I was really inspired to talk about this. So yeah, let's keep the conversation going, guys. Thanks for watching.
Hey, this is Kevin.
Hi, this is Nooch.
Thanks for watching.
If you like what you saw, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe. You'll know when new ones are coming. And share with your friends.
We'll see you soon.